Hello and welcome to The Entrepreneurial Musician, a newsletter, coaching service, podcast, and blog preparing today's musicians for tomorrow's realities. This is TEM283 titled The Science Behind Cultivating Gratitude. Thank you to Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting for TEM. Parker Mouthpieces offers fine, customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba, including the Andrew Hitz Artist Model Tuba mouthpiece. You can find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hey, TEM has a newsletter. Sounded like I was just scolding you, which is probably not a good way to get people to sign up. Anyway, a lot of podcasts have newsletters, and all that the newsletters are is just telling you about the podcast. But if you're listening to a podcast and you're willing to sign up for the newsletter, there's a good chance you already know about the podcast and the various episodes. So I'm doing very little of telling you about TEM, and I'm trying to just provide a whole bunch of value. Part of that is the Quartet of Ideas every Thursday, which features tools, actionable advice, and inspiration needed to thrive in today's music business. So go ahead and sign up for that today, by the way, and you will get enrolled in a free email course from TEM Coaching called 6 Avoidable Mistakes Musicians Make on Their Website. You can go to signup.tem.fm to learn more and to sign up today. Okay, TEM283, the science behind cultivating gratitude. Today is 2 days before Thanksgiving, which is a great time of year for me to focus on gratitude. Now, I'll admit that this is a subject that can elicit some pretty quick eye rolls, but there's a lot of scientific evidence that shows the benefit of gratitude, and I think it is really vital for entrepreneurial musicians to intentionally carve out space in their lives for it. I'll get into that second part at the end here, but first I just wanted to talk about the science behind gratitude. The following is from mindful.org. Quote, in one study involving nearly 300 adults seeking counseling services at a university, one randomized group wrote a gratitude letter each week for 3 weeks. The gratitude group reported significantly better mental health compared to the control group at follow-up 12 weeks after the last writing exercise. Another type of written gratitude practice is counting blessings or 3 good things. A study of this practice found that people who wrote down 3 things that had gone well in their day and identified the causes of those things were significantly happier and less depressed, even 6 months after the study ended. The thing that's incredible to me is that the benefits stuck around well after the actions did. I realize that if I get a good night's sleep tonight, then I'm going to feel more rested tomorrow. But imagine the magic if we could get 3 weeks of good sleep and then still feel more rested 6 months later. That's what cultivating gratitude does. It reframes how we look at the world around us and our role in that world, and that obviously affects absolutely everything. Rather than reading the whole thing to you, I am linking to this article, The Science of Gratitude, in the show notes, which, as always, you can find at tem.fm. It's worth the time. I would check it out. The point is, there are a number of benefits to life and to our careers when we make the time to cultivate gratitude. I can speak from experience that I will never find the time for this. I need to make the time. So why is it so important for a musician, especially an entrepreneurial musician with a portfolio career, to cultivate gratitude? Because if you have a career that is meaningful to you, that affects change in the world, then you have to take some risks. No one has ever affected much change in the world simply by doing what others have done before them. There just is no kind of map for that kind of thing. As a side note, which I think is important context, it is possible to follow a map for some aspects of your career and not for other aspects of your career. I don't want to paint it as like a dichotomy where you either like follow a map or you don't follow any map. Sometimes that's the best path forward, by the way, is having a map for some of it and not for others, because it affords financial stability and more predictable outcomes, especially when you start adding like little humans or animals or spouses or others in the world who are counting on you to feed them or to make sure the heat stays on. I just wanted to make sure that it didn't come across like I was framing this as either you're setting sail for uncharted territory looking for the literal edge of the earth, or that you're following someone else's map, because there's an infinite number of ways that those two realities can manifest themselves in any one person's career, even simultaneously. So, all right, getting back to the there's no map thing. This means that you will make mistakes or have things that don't work out or things that seem like they would be successful that end up getting no traction. And sometimes, in my experience, these things come in bunches or waves. I've experienced waves of success when I get called for a few really incredible gigs in a short period of time and get an influx of new TEM coaching clients, and things just seem to be flowing well. I've also experienced waves of setbacks, like a potential partnership fizzles or something I put out into the world doesn't sell as well as the data showed me that it should. That's always a danger word. Or I'm struggling in the practice room, etc. I would say that most of the time there's a mix of the good and the bad, and it all balances itself out, which makes feeling balanced pretty easy. But speaking from personal experience, when a wave of setbacks comes at me in a short period of time, cultivating growth is a vital aspect in maintaining my mental health and in my ability to keep showing up. And ironically, when life is, or maybe I should say paradoxically, when life is really crazy and I feel like I'm drowning in work, hello, fall 2022, and don't, quote, have time to do things like write a regular gratitude list, those are the times when I actually need to be doing it. That's why I use the term cultivate, an intentional act. It's easy for me to feel gratitude when I'm sitting on the porch of my family's summer house in the Berkshires with nothing to do. There's no need for me to cultivate anything in that moment. But when I'm up until 1 a.m. the night before a Brass Junkies video is supposed to go live, editing video in new to me software and finally finish, and then there's a problem exporting the video and it ends up that the entire file is corrupted and I have just seemingly wasted hours and will miss my deadline, which may or may not have happened to me just last week, that's when I need to cultivate some gratitude. Because guess what? That time wasn't wasted. I got much more familiar with the program, the editing program, which is no small thing, like way more familiar with a number of different aspects that will help me not only produce videos like this one that you're watching if you're on YouTube right now. It's going to make them better, make them faster, but also make courses and other offerings for the HITS Academy library easier to make. The deadline was real, but there were no major repercussions for missing it. I could go on. All I know is that I actually got a lot done, even though my initial reaction was not, thank goodness for this learning experience. I said a couple of words. They were not, thank goodness for this learning experience. To close, the only way that I am able to feel gratitude when I actually need it is to regularly cultivate it, even when I don't want to. Again, check out that article if you'd like to learn more, and the benefits are just, they're great. It gets into it. You're going to be amazed with the results if you can take the time to cultivate this in your life. Okay, before we get to this week's quote, I wanted to put in a plug for the Mockingbird Foundation, which can be found at mbird.org. This is a nonprofit that I have had the privilege of serving on the board of directors of for the last 12 or 13 years. We recently passed the $2 million mark in awarded grants in all 50 states to increase access to music education for students who otherwise might not have such access. It's a really incredible organization. I'm really proud. Over 95% of every single dollar that goes in, that comes into us, ends up going directly into the hands of the places that need this. And it's wonderful. We are all volunteer, and the mission is vital. And we're coming up on the time of year when we get all of our grant applications, and the number of places that are in dire need of money. I'm talking about like guitar classes where there's 20 kids in the class and they've only got 5 working guitars, and they have literally zero budget, and the teacher makes no money and zero budget for repairs, and the teacher can't afford to repair them on their own. And so the kids are, there's 4 kids to a guitar. When you get to tell that place that you're going to like buy them 15 brand new guitars, which not only gets all the kids playing, but it also increases the runway of how long they're going to have working guitars. The responses back are tears. And so if you would like to either learn how you can donate money or help in some other way, go to mbird.org. And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to plug that organization that is near and dear to my heart. Okay, this week's quote is from author J.S. Mason. The only thing you should feel entitled to is gratitude. How about that one? I was not entitled to that video rendering and exporting correctly the other night. I was not entitled to having enough bandwidth to get out a TEM episode last week, which if you were looking for one, you didn't find because I was just too busy. I am not entitled to the series of recitals that I have in a couple of weeks going well. I just have to focus on what I can control, like being as prepared as possible to play those recitals, and let the results just happen because they're going to just happen anyways. And that is most easily done through gratitude. Thank you to everyone for listening, subscribing, leaving a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get TEM, and simply for your attention, the most valuable commodity any of us have to give. TEM is produced by myself, Andrew Hitz, and is a part of the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network. The theme music for TEM is played by Ben Barron, Rich Kelly, Daniel Appel, and myself, Andrew Hitz. For show notes, the TEM blog, and to learn more about TEM coaching, please visit our website, tem.fm. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And please sign up for the newsletter, signup.tem.fm. And that's going to do it for the latest episode of The Entrepreneurial Musician.